First of all, thanks to all you guys for coming up the hill and coming out today and talk about our signees in this class. Before I get started, I want to just say some thank yous out there. First of all, to our staff, all the hard work that they've put in. It's really a year-round recruiting process, and there's a lot of work that goes on behind the scenes through the summer and through the fall, and our staff did a really, really nice job, and especially all the team recruiting that we did. The support staff, Wanga Damuni, Jared Russell, our Director of Player Personnel, those guys do a great job. Dave Scholes, the two groups that when we bring kids on campus that do a tremendous job every week is academics and strength. And Dave Scholes and his staff, Amber Ray and Lauren in academics, they do a tremendous job and take a lot of time out of their weekends and their days to spend with these kids and their parents, and that means a lot to me as a head coach. And it takes a lot of us to recruit, and it takes a lot of us to here at Utah State to coach kids once they get here, and it's very much a team effort. And our academic staff and our strength staff are I look at them as assistants. They do as much work as our football assistants, and I just want to say thank you to them. Our compliance people every weekend, Steph, who's in our travel, Miss Brandy, my administrative assistant, they do a great job, especially with all the weather issues that we had the last 10 days. And Steph was a rock star and got our coaches where we needed to go on planes for all our out-of-state stuff. You know, President Cockett, her first time going through this and the time that she spent with us, to me is, number one, I'm very appreciative of it. Number two, it makes a huge impression on recruits and their parents when the president takes time out of her day, just like President Albrecht used to come over and speak and take time and talk about what Utah State means to her and her vision for it. John Hartwell is very involved in our recruiting during the season as well as during the winter, and those two people give us great support. A couple other people I want to mention, and I haven't done it before, but they are behind-the-scenes people that help us out a lot. Number one, Jim Lobb, and the use of his plane and the things that he allows us to do as a staff to get around. It started in the summer with camps and into the fall, and I appreciate that very much. Chris and Nate Wilson are always, with Wilson Ford, always do a great job with our cars and everything that we do. So I just want to tell both of them thank you. And then last but not least is certainly our wives. Pretty much for the last 3 weeks, we have been non-existent. Bad, I don't know about bad dads, but a little absentee dads, to be honest with you. And until Sunday hit this past week, I haven't really seen very much of my kids except at a recruiting dinner, even though you're not paying attention to them. And our kids do a really good job of recruiting too, because, you know, my little guy's sitting there playing Papa Shot and pool with a bunch of recruits, and that may have helped a little bit more than I think. But our wives and our families, I just appreciate them. So we look at this class. I'm going to transition right into these guys, and we'll start talking about them. You look at, there's some similarities into some past classes, and then there's some things that we'll talk about that are very specific to these kids individually. First of all, you look at the state of Utah, 7 signees, 8 signees from the state. We'll always recruit this state first and foremost. It's important. You got mission kids in there, Polynesian Pipeline, everything that we're all about here at Utah State. The junior college players, we got 7 junior college players in this class. I believe we've always signed somewhere between 4 and 8. Those guys are recruited to come in and compete immediately for playing time. And these certainly we'll cover some of these guys individually. This class is no different. Consists of 5 mission kids. Had a late addition this morning, which was great. Great news for all of us. And very much a part of our foundation of our recruiting success is our mission program. And we're welcoming some mission kids back in this summer. And so until they get here or get in school, I'm not allowed to visit about or comment about them. But we got kids coming back this summer that'll be on this team in this fall. And the last thing is you look at, and some of this camp legislation with NCAA is getting amended a little bit. It'll be a little bit different. Over half of our signees we had in camp or saw them in camps, satellite camps out there, namely in the state of California. So in-state or out, and we got a lot of live evals on these guys. And So that's important to us. So that's a little bit of a snapshot of this class as you look at it. It was big for us, offensive line, to address some offensive line needs immediately. We did that. A couple of JC kids that are in right now. Roman and Rob are both in right now with us and a part of us right now. 2 JC linebackers in Sully and Louie. And those 2 guys I know will come in and compete immediately. Sully will be an inside guy. Louie will start out as an outside linebacker, tremendous pass rush skills. We signed two high school O-linemen, going back to the O-lineman, Alfred Edwards, a tall, long, athletic tackle, and then Chandler Dolphin, a kid from in-state that is mean and nasty and I think's got a bright, bright future here at Utah State. A quarterback that I know is very competitive. He's got a lot of moxie. Henry was one of our very first commits and stayed true and loyal to us. And you're going to hear me say true and loyal a lot because this year we didn't have very much drama here in the last week, which I think is a good thing. As I kind of look back, you always look back at your body of work. And as I look, this is our 5th recruiting class, a 4th full recruiting class since I've been here as the head coach. Seems like some of the drama that we had, even when we flipped guys, those kids either haven't panned out or haven't made it or not stayed at Utah State. And so it's the kids that have stayed loyal to Utah State to me over the years, and maybe even some of our earlier commitments here at Utah State that end up being our best and most productive players. And I can remember Henry committing this summer. We had him on campus this summer and certainly has stayed loyal and true. And I'm going to talk about a lot of those guys in that regards because a lot of our kids over the last couple of weeks, and a lot of it hasn't been on Twitter, I should say, and publicized because I kind of look for that. But there's a lot of kids that turned down schools that we're signing and that stayed very, very loyal and committed to us at Utah State. And I think that's what takes kids to another level once they get here. A tight end, Carson Terrell, that I'm really excited about. Another one that stayed true to us and loyal to us and just nonchalantly said no to some people after he committed. And he will come in and compete immediately for playing time. And one of the neat things in that recruiting story is the influence that Dax Raymond had on that kid. To see one of your best players, and Dax is, I know he didn't play last year, but he's one of our best players, will certainly be one of the top tight ends in the Mountain West, recruit a kid with passion and energy and basically tell him he needs him because Dax is a mature young man. We signed Dax in our very first recruiting class here and finally are getting him back and all that. And his better days are ahead of him. But Dax is basically his take on Carson was, I need you here for me to be a better player. And so that's an oxymoron for a lot of people. They don't understand that. But that's a neat thing to see. His parents recognize that. His parents saw that. And to keep a kid like that in state and to get him over the choices that he had is a huge get for us. I like our corner position. I really like our corner spot. We signed 3 kids, two high school kids and a junior college, Deontay Fortenberry from City College, San Francisco. All 3 of those guys were camp guys. Coach Julius Brown and Coach Kendrick Shaver, I thought, did a tremendous job of not only identifying and evaluating those guys, but all 3 of those guys had multiple offers to play other places. And, Zahadri, Jared Green, and Deontay Tay, as he goes by. And as my 14-year-old daughter, Al, noted to him the other day, the last corner to come here and play named Tay was pretty good. And so she already put the pressure on him. But I like those guys. We got live evals on those guys a lot in camps and in games, and so had all 3 of those guys in our camp, and I like those guys. 2 D linemen, Devon Anderson and also Nami Tuitu'u from Mesa, Jackrabbits, home of Kyler Fackrell. Those 2 guys absolutely will come in at defensive end, one junior college. Devon has 3 years to play. He's a sophomore. And so that's a plus as a junior college player. And then Nami, being a true freshman, will come in and compete right now. We lost some of those guys to graduation, and so that's an important spot for us. Savon Scarver from Vegas. We signed 2 kids from Centennial High School, he and Jamal Evans. Jamal has been to our camp, since he was a 9th grader, maybe an 8th grader as a ball boy. He's always been in Logan. I mean, that's almost an in-state get for us, as many times as Jamal's been to Logan. And he's a safety. He's a high school quarterback. We also have evaluated him as a safety and a linebacker and can play multiple spots. Savon is wide out. He'll be an outside receiver for us. He can stick his foot in the ground. He's a very good route runner, but he's got speed. He's got really good track times if you've looked him up. Coach Gensel actually came by my office today, and we were looking it up, and I said, I was comparing it, and he says, Matt, he'll help me. And I said, well, he needs to have good grades first. And we've already talked about that. So he's a possible 2-sport guy once he gets here. But he's got real speed. Zahadri's got track speed. He's got track times and runs track. So we have some multi-sport guys. You want to talk about a multi-sport guy? Let me go back to Carson Terrell. First one I've ever recruited in 20 years that was a basketball player and a wrestler at the same time. Now, he's gotten a little bit of an injury. He's going to be okay, but he's going to be out for the rest of the year in wrestling and basketball. But that is a kid that was going from basketball practice to a wrestling match. I mean, one week when I was in there, I watched him in basketball practice with Coach Yost and Coach Luke, my brother. And then the next week, Coach Yost and Coach Luke are at a wrestling match. I've never seen that. That same winter, whatever, the season's going on, a wrestler and a basketball player, and was wrestling heavyweight at 230 pounds. And very, very aggressive basketball, and wrestling. And anyway, I love multi-sport guys. The kid's a competitive guy. Anyway, so as you're talking about multi-sport guys, so, our mission kids, Henley is another wrestler, really good heavyweight wrestler in this state. Izzy, Kyle Van Leeuwen, Josh Sturzer, Matt Tahola, all those mission kids that we signed, and then we'll send them out. I'm excited. We had all those guys in camp. Again, more eyes and more evals on all those guys. So let me see. Just let me glance here for a second, and then let me open it up. I think I've hit on most of these guys and mentioned them by name. So let me just go ahead and open it up for questions, and we'll kind of go from there, guys.
I guess for one, you didn't talk about El Toro.
I did. You know what? I skipped over him. El Toro, has a lot of speed. He's a speed guy, and I think is going to fit in our offense really good. 1,000-yard rusher, split time at running back with another guy there at Riverside. We've had really good success at Riverside Community College. Sharp, smart mom, kid. I mean, really, really a neat mom and a neat story and a neat family. And had him in here a couple weeks ago and committed, and he will absolutely come in and compete, with Tony and Lawan and Justin Hervey. He'll play. He'll play right when he gets in. And obviously he's got to compete, and we've got good backs here, but I think we added another really good back.
Speaking of junior college guys, do you evaluate guys, or do you make up your list and hone in only on a JC guy, or do you have maybe a couple high school guys and then a JC guy and high school guys all mixed up together as far as, say, running back or linebacker?
Yeah. I think maybe Isaac a little bit different, but also in some positions it's exactly like that. Sometimes we'll identify at a certain position we need a kid that's older, more mature, playing time junior. We need a junior college kid here right now. And so then we evaluate the JC kids all against each other. And then like the running back spot was going to be best available. As to how we termed that one this year. So we were going to evaluate all the freshmen, incoming freshmen, high school seniors with any kind of junior college player. And so we were going to put their tape up and do our best to evaluate it exactly against each other. Go back and reference what I said before, like our corner spot. We had the whole plan all together. The whole time was to take 2 high schools and 1 JUCO corner. So we had our junior college pile or board or group, and then our high school kids. So we evaluated kind of like that separately a little bit. So
That's probably the most common question that fans have is they say, well, why don't you just take a high school guy who's got 4 years, and why would you take a JC guy that only has 2 years?
it's when you evaluate your position and you think that that's a spot that either you need an immediate upgrade or immediate production at. Can the high school kid give that to you, or can the JC kid give it to you better? First thing. And then who's in that room right now, and do we lose so many guys? Just like the O-line, we knew we need to change the O-line. We needed to make it immediate. It had to be a mix, 2 and 2. So we took 2 high schools and we took 2 junior college players. D-line, 1 and 1. So we had some immediate needs right there. When it goes down to the running back, it was who's the best available, who can we get our hands on right now, because I would like someone to compete and play right now. So that's kind of where you look. Quarterback, you got a returning senior who's been very productive. I've got a kid coming off a redshirt year, Jordan Love, who I know is going to be very good. We're not going to take a junior college quarterback. We're not going to take a graduate transfer. I got 2 calls from 2 prominent graduate transfers out there. Very, very good players. Very good players. We made the decision, are we going to develop Jordan Love, or are we going to take a graduate transfer? Well, we already have Henry coming and committed, and so that was the decision is to stay with youth, because I believe in that youth right now in the quarterback room.
So, sorry, I was just going to say, follow up on that.
Uh-huh.
Are you always looking for a guy to come in? I mean, even obviously high school or JC guy, we've seen it in the past. Are you recruiting guys to always looking for the better player, or looking for a guy to come in and start right away, or is it you just get the best guys you can?
I think you always try to get the best guys you can, because you're always trying to upgrade. To me, recruiting is trying to make it better in that room or that position. But there's always positions that you look at and go, okay, we have a lot of production coming back, and we feel really good about where we're at in the Mountain West at that position right now. So maybe we take a freshman in. If he's really good, then he's going to compete right now, or he's going to redshirt, and you're okay with that. Or you look at a room that's maybe depleted by graduation, and you look at the youth, and the youth is not ready yet, or it's maybe a year away for developing, then that's where your mindset starts going, well, maybe we need a JC kid to plug in right here.
Matt, I mean, over the last week and a half, you've gotten arguably some of your better commits, like Fortenberry, Terrell, Edwards, Hola, Dolphin. I mean, how good do you feel about how the last couple of weeks?
I thought we finished really strong. Yeah. Some of those commits, to be real honest with you, I mean, when you say they're late, it just is kind of how their calendar worked out, or they couldn't come in on their visit until later. So sometimes that may have been delayed. They couldn't come in December, or they couldn't come, January 14th, our first weekend out. But I thought we finished really strong. I thought our staff really, we tried to put blinders on the last 3 weeks, 2.5 weeks, and just go hard right after our guys. And really, even once you got some kids committed in mid-January, it's just about as, I always use the term post up. We had to post up at Lehigh High School and stay there all day, make sure nobody comes in, So sometimes it's defending opponents from poaching a little bit. But I thought we finished really strong, and we got some, got good news this morning with Mata, and got no bad news in the last, 5 days or whatever. And to me, that's finishing strong.
What is it Suli Maivena?
Yep, pretty good.
Hasn't played in a while, right?
Yeah. Yeah, he just had he had to finish some academic classes and finish up. He did not play at Mount Sac this year. Yeah. Was that league's defensive player of the year 2 years ago. But Suli will come in right away, and will be a different linebacking group as soon as he gets in here.
So I count with the guys are going on missions. That's 16 new players to affect your program on this list. Would I assume, or can we assume, that there's still more spots you could take more? And is that where the return missionaries come in? Do you have to count their numbers now, or do you
Yeah.
count them? How does that
Yeah,
work
each
out?
kid's a little different, and the timing of when they get back on their mission, Al, is a little bit different. So we'll have some missionaries coming back this summer. We possibly could have a couple late additions, this spring, and then so you're gonna have another half a dozen to 8 new players probably by training camp. Between now and training
the
camp.
LDS guys and other guys you might still see.
Correct. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Coach, you didn't make it to a bowl game this year. Did that help in recruiting in that you had more time to devote to it, or did it hurt in recruiting in that you weren't involved in a higher profile opportunity like that?
It definitely didn't hurt us in recruiting one bit because of the homes we got in and the kids that we stayed on. I don't think it ever helps you one bit if you're not in a bowl game. I'm not going to take that trade-off ever. That was the most miserable December I've ever had in my life. And besides Christmas Day and seeing the look on my kid's face and all that, it was miserable. There's no way around it. That was the worst week before Christmas, and it was the worst week after Christmas, watching everybody else play except us. And I just hope our players hated it as much as I did. It was not fun. It'll never help, but it absolutely didn't hurt us in recruiting because of some of the guys that we've been on. It gave us probably a few more days in December and another recruiting weekend, but I'll take the trade-off the other way next year.
Well, and you had more staff to recruit this year than you did last year, too.
Well,
The way it worked out.
there's no question about that. If you go back,
Had to help.
there's no question. You go back and look, and to me, before this class, our best class was the 2014 class. It was the deepest. It's been the most productive. And if you go back and look, that was our first year together as a staff to fully recruit the mission program, JUCO kids and high school kids, kind of our mix. And I lost one coach on that staff, and that was Kevin Clune, and that was at some point in early January when he left to go to Hawaii to be the D coordinator. And then I lost Frank, but that was about a month after signing day when I lost Frank to Vanderbilt. But we had continuity on the staff, and I always say that continuity on a staff may have more to do with recruiting than it does with coaching your own kids here, because our players are very resilient, and when there's some coaching turnover, I think they do a great job of welcoming new coaches with open arms and bringing them into how we do things here at Utah State. But where it hurts you is in recruiting and relationships, a different face with a different logo on and in a different school. But when you have continuity over a long time, and we changed up a little bit about how we recruited some kids this year, and we put more faces in the school, put more guys on the phone with them, and spread it out. And I think that made a difference this year. But staff continuity is huge in recruiting.
Let me kind of go back. If you've got maybe 6 to 8 guys, is there in your mind still one position you still would like to get somebody, or have you filled it with this list of what you feel like your real needs were?
No, I would probably like another D lineman and probably another backer, outside backer, and another D lineman. And when I say D lineman, not nose guard, I think we're very strong at nose guard. With G-Mac Schuster, Chris Unga, and Mo Elika Waske's got a bright – that dude's going to be a player here for a long time. Those 3 guys can play nose, and we don't need another nose. We need some D-ends, so maybe another D-end or outside backer. But it's going to be, as you look at it, and the guys that are – the mission kids are their own position, but if you're looking for somebody, and then in addition, it would be somebody that we think can come in and make an impact. And that'll probably be at most spots, but those would be the 2 that I would have an eye on.
Is it hard in basketball, the kids come back and play. In football, isn't it a little harder physically for the guys to come back from a mission?
Yeah, you know what, Al, I think that's always been I think that's always been people's thought, but it's just been interesting. And we had these discussions with several mission kid recruits' parents, and the kid is, either we've done a better job, or maybe the kids have done better jobs on their mission of staying in better shape. But that has always been kind of the MO is it takes them longer to come back, especially O-line, D-line. Moilika came back. I mean, Mo got here in late June and was 300 and now I'm in trouble. I'm on the air talking about this. 330-something pounds. Dave Scholes had a month with him before training camp, and we brought him along through August real slowly, and Frank did a good job of just inserting him and playing him but not crushing him, and built his reps up over the year, over the fall. And I mean, there's a defensive lineman coming right off a mission in the middle of the summer and playing right now. Now, if you remember back, he was in that 2014 signing class. He turned down a lot of people to come to Utah State. And he's also probably one of our best recruiters too, during this winter. But you take a kid, and then Dax Raymond. I mean, Dax Raymond came off in May and was skinny as a rail coming back from the Ukraine. And Coach Scholes had him all summer. And there he is playing right away as a true freshman, game one. And so that it's probably very individual related. Sometimes it depends on where that kid was sent. Did he get sick? How much did he eat? You know, send those guys down south and they're going to eat barbecue and gain a little weight, and like Mo. So, but it's still, I think it's kind of individual. We're seeing more and more mission kids come back ready to play, and I think maybe we're doing a better job with them. Coach Scholes is doing a better job getting them ready.
Or they were better.
On their
Everybody
mission.
in high school, and they're more physically talented
Yeah.
nowadays than they
Yeah.
maybe used to be.
Yeah, and you're seeing more high school freshmen come in and are able to compete right away.
Matt, I've seen some of the track times. I've reported on track for a long time. It just seems to me that there's more speed in this class than maybe the last couple of classes. Is that a fair assessment?
I think it's a very accurate assessment. I mean, when Greg Gensel comes over and looks and sees it and knows, first of all, when I just mention a kid's name and he's like, oh, yeah, I know who Savon Scarver is. Yeah, Las Vegas, he's got real times. And, Zahadri, Jamal Evans is playing on Centennial's basketball team, and that's a really good basketball team, I'm told. They got a kid going from Oregon, going to, I don't know if I'm supposed to report that. Has he already signed? I don't know. He's a really good basketball player. I may have messed up. That's a secondary violation. I don't know, but he's a starter on that basketball team. I mean, a lot of multi-sport guys. I've already mentioned some of the wrestlers, but we got some guys with track times that are really good. Yeah, we're fast. This is fast class. And El Toro, I don't even know if he's got track times, but he's major speed at running back.
How do you feel that things are, I know it's early, but how are things working out with Coach Yost as the staff, and your opportunities to meet with him and direct him with recruiting and just understanding your philosophies? Just how's that working out?
It's been really good. David he's a consummate professional, really. I mean, he walked in here like he'd been in here for a long time, and he was kind of like, oh, that's how we do it? Okay, good. And fit in really good with our staff. He had a big hand in helping Luke with Carson Terrell and getting him committed and keeping him committed. Luke did a tremendous job with him for the last year. I thought Coach Yost jumped right in on all the I think he saw all the offensive commits or the guys we were going after, and so he was in a lot of homes with me and with our offensive staff, and jumped in and really, that's another guy on our staff that's not the recruiting coordinator, but he's been a recruiting coordinator before. Julius Brown's been a recruiting coordinator before. Luke's got that title right now. I've been a recruiting coordinator before, and sometimes when you have that title and you've had that experience and that responsibility, I mean, they just jump right in and they add so much more than I thought when I hired him, because that's not why I hired him. I hired him because of an offensive, the scheme and the expertise and his quarterback coaching and all those kind of things. But it's been really good so far in recruiting, and he's already started. They started staff meeting this week on the offensive staff, just with cut-ups and some of the installation and all that, and so that'll crank up Monday morning.
I have to ask you because it just popped up on my Twitter line, but so mostly 4- and 5-star recruits, they're making these huge productions out of they're making videos and everything. So what's your opinion on that? Is that just something you take with a 4- or 5-star guy, or?
That's a good question. Very fair. I just saw a helicopter a while ago. Saw a guy with a snowboard. Yeah, that was crazy. It takes a lot of thought. You guys are creative guys. They may have careers after football, you know. I think it's fun. Obviously they're having fun with it. I hope those kids back it up or their fans won't be real happy, you know. But I don't know. We got a lot of low-key kids. It seems like a lot of these kids we're recruiting, there's some of them that really, really like to be recruited and they like to retweet their own stuff, and I get all that. But you got to, I mean, once tomorrow hits, they wake up tomorrow, they better be able to go to class, do it right, grind, lift, and become great football players and want to be football junkies. If they want to be a Twitter junkie, they're in the wrong deal. But I do think there's been some creative ones. I always laugh, you know, get a kick out of them. So.
Talk about those guys that are low key in regards to that. Are those guys that you expect to come in and work hard and make the most of their opportunity because they're not maybe high on everybody's list?
I think, you know, I said to one recruit the other day, I said, you have competed the last couple years, and I've watched you, and you kind of walk around like you got a chip on your shoulder. And he said, Coach, this thing, that is not a chip. That thing's a crack. It's big. And he says, it ain't getting off when I come to Logan. That was something like that, is about his direct quote. And I think, man, you sit there as a coach, and yeah, it's 2017 and it's Twitter and it's that, and I'm involved in it too, and I'm trying to promote our program. But there's some of that you kind of go, okay, this kid's got a little old school in him, and that's kind of neat to see. And then you think, and then I know what our program's about and what our building's about and what Logan, Utah's about and what Cache Valley's all about, and I'm like, okay, this kid's fixing to make it. I can't wait to see where he's at in a year or 2 years. And you just kind of sit back and you look at that, and, you know, I think it's refreshing nowadays, and it's neat to see.
So I guess how important is it those stars or offers or whatever, you know, beating out certain teams? How important is that to getting a team full of guys that can win a Mountain West championship? How much of that is that, or is it more your evaluation and getting the right guys?
Well, if our evaluation and they're the right guys once they get in here, I mean, the stars are what people say about them. If that's going to match up, then there'll be a really good player here. You know, as you go back and, you know, look here, obviously it's been well documented. There's been a lot of one-offer guys crush it at Utah State, crush it. There's one, you know, Zach Vigil, that was the Mountain West Defense Player of the Year, was a no-offer guy. And when I say no offer, I mean nobody in the state of Utah at any division offered him. So you've got those success stories, and I think they're pretty well documented. But, you know, you're recruiting against other schools, and I think the kid's a really good player. So the better players that we get in here, if they can fit and they can work together and they can stay healthy, they make the right choices off the field, and they bond together as a unit, then you're going to have a good team. And obviously we want the best players in here, but we want the best players that fit us. And there's many kids on that, and there's kids coming in this summer that may have one offer or two offers, and they're not ranked. And, you know, it's like one of our coaches just told me a while ago, they saw a kid in the Mountain West that was committed that was supposedly a 3-star, and then a Pac-12 took him 2 days ago, and his star rating's already gone up to 4 stars. His huddle video hadn't changed. So that's the kind of stuff out there that that doesn't matter to me, and it doesn't do anything to our evaluations. It's for fans, it's for Twitter, it's for all those kind of things. But when the kids come into Utah State, they got to be able to bond and have great chemistry, and then they got to be coached. We have to put them in the right positions to be successful. So there's always probably going to be a mix here at Utah State, whether it's return missionary kids, one-offer kids, walk-ons that become really good. We've had transfers in the past that have been good, and then hopefully the kids that had a lot of offers that everybody knows about end up being good players. Find out in a couple years, won't we?
Can I ask you, do you feel like you did well enough in the state of Utah, or did you recommit yourselves to get more players from Utah, or how are you doing there, or would you like to do better in the state of Utah?
Oh, well, there's plenty of players in this state that I would love to have, and they didn't choose us for whatever reason. Yeah, there's always more. We don't ever get everybody we wanted. So I'd love to sign the whole class from Utah. That's not going to be I don't think that'll ever happen because there's certain guys we like out of state that we like better than in-state kids. But there's certainly a lot of in-state kids that that I would have loved to have, and they chose to go other places, and so good luck to them. But yeah, there's a lot of good players in the state of Utah. It's getting better and better, and it's getting very populated, and Salt Lake International's got a lot of visitors coming in from out of state. And when you just look at the list, and so many kids are leaving the state, and when kids in Utah end up leaving the state, it just invites other coaches to come in, and there's good players. There's really good players. And I'm happy that we got the 8 kids that we got. I really am.
So there are a few guys that maybe you expect to come in, whether it's strength or whatever, expecting to work really hard in the next 6 months to come in kind of a different guy. Maybe he's undersized now,
Mhm.
whatever the case may be.
Yeah, there is. And what's scary a little bit, Isaac, about saying which one I think or which 2 I think is Jalen Davis. I didn't sit at this press conference and say, yeah, Jalen Davis is going to come in and start it against Tennessee as a true freshman and start every game except couple games he was injured this year. I mean, that guy he's played since he's been here, and I never would have said that. Jalen Davis didn't have any Division I offers. We beat Division IIs and 1AAs for him, and he's one of the most productive corners at Utah State in a long time. Another one in that line. And when I look at all 3 corners, as I'm thinking about corners, I think the 2 freshmen can come in and compete because they're talented, and Tay and Deontay absolutely will. So who's to say Zahadri or Green are not going to be the Jalen Davis from 3 years ago? That's hard to say, because if you'd asked me that question a few years ago, I bet I didn't say Jalen. I probably said somebody else that perceptionally you think can come in. Certainly, there's a few that I've mentioned from a high school standpoint that because of, kind of depth issues and their talent, I expect them to be in that mix. Nami, Carson Terrell, absolutely. We'll see. I don't know about the other ones right now. So.
The NCAA is going to be having some meetings coming up in April.
Mm-hmm.
They may discuss changes to letter of intent signing day, or
Oh, they will discuss it. Oh, it's on the docket.
Yeah. So what are your thoughts about that?
Yeah.
How it should?
Yeah, I supported it. I supported it to a December signing day as an early signing day, which would be the Wednesday in December that the junior colleges sign. So, yeah, support it. And I think, some of these kids would have already signed and, with us then, and I'm sure some of them would have probably held out and figured it out in January. It will be interesting to see how it changes our recruiting. And I really can't predict that right now. But, yeah, I absolutely supported that. Don't want to see it go in the summer. None of the coaches did. That was absolutely shot down. And we don't want to see that calendar change. But coaches were heavily in favor of supporting the December signing day. So I think that'll pass.
What's the schedule from this point forward? When spring practices begin and all that?
Help me, Hoffman. Thank you. February 28th is a Tuesday. We're going to get 3 in. Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. We'll get 3 in before spring break. And then when we come back from spring break, we'll be on a Tuesday, Thursday, Friday schedule, 3 days a week, with the spring game being April the 9th. 8th. Eric, you caught me off guard, bud. I thought I had everything prepared for this press conference. Second Saturday in April. How about that? The 8th or the 9th is the spring game. So we get back on Monday. Coaches are in and starting to talk ball. We've already got a lot of our some junior offers out in state, a few out of state, and we're on to junior recruiting already. Probably have the best start we've ever had for junior recruiting. Again, staff continuity has something to do with that. You keep staying in the same area. We're further along in that, and so That always helps. So we'll start with the schemes on both sides of the ball, start cut-ups, meetings with our players. They're in 3 weeks into the off-season program so far. We'll start our early morning workouts in another week, and then that leads right into spring practice. Yeah, in a month.
Spring practice.
Here we go.
February 28th, you're going to have to melt the water or you're in there.
Yeah. No, this thing's going to melt. Yeah. Toughen them up.
A lot of snow to melt.
It's a lot. More than I've ever seen. You guys have lived here longer than I have, but
I don't think I'll miss many spring practices with golf for a while.
you're going to be at every spring practice. You will not be on the golf course, Al. Okay. Any other questions? Good?
What's the how much better is the depth of the old line going to be this year?
I wouldn't say the depth is going to be any better because we just graduated 4 seniors and you bring 4 kids in, you 2 freshmen. The depth is about the same. It's obviously you're looking at quality of play and how well they play will be what everybody wants to evaluate, including me. But in terms of numbers and depth, we're at about the right numbers. We replaced as many as we lost.
You don't expect that number to go up. Some, obviously, different programs have different numbers of O-linemen and
Yeah.
different positions.
Yeah.
Is that staying pretty?
Yeah, we're right around 15 usually. It's about 3 deep. So, and usually it's a give or take with 16 to 14, somewhere in that neighborhood. Yeah. Good? Okay, appreciate y'all coming out today. Okay, thank you.